2 months, I would say, right? You're talking about 23%, and you want to consolidate maybe for 2 weeks and then another 5-10% to all-time. Yeah, is it doable? Yes, but when the bracket like this is set up, you really have no reason to be the initiative buyer or seller, right? As you guys remember, what is the most probable outcome when you're above a bracket? What is the expected behavior?
It goes down.
Say it again. Sorry, I didn't catch it.
It goes down.
Yeah, but what about in terms of your responsible or responsive or initiative? What is that?
Responsive sellers show up.
Yeah, you would have responsive sellers show up. Hold on one second. It looks good, but because it's trying not as close. So they show up like little models walking into my office.
Babies.
So let me show you this just to kind of refresh. When something is above value, right, it's most likely probable that it's going to be responsive selling that comes in. What's not probable is initiating. So expected here to go higher, it's a very low chance. And, other time frame participants are more on this side rather than on the right side. Does that make sense? And now if you think about logically, right? So let's say if you are, you're a responsive buyer back here, what would you do when the product that you bought below value now is being bought above the value and you have inventory? You bought a lot of inventory here below value. What would you do at the top?
Sell it.
Well, most likely you would sell it if you know that the range that your product is being accepted is here. If you know the product's being accepted here and you bought it here and now you're going above the value, responsive activity and expected behavior is to sell. And same will be, let's say tonight or whenever we come to this 59.13 level, we're going to come here, most likely revisit, maybe not 58.94ish or 90s. If we dip below, this low here could be cleaned up, but this is a pretty crowded high right now. So they're going to auction away from it, whatever the news are. Remember I told you, what was it, 2 days ago when we had the watch list? Because last night we didn't have it because the day prior was really bullshit, right? Range on this day when we were prepping. Did I mention anything that there's going to be some news coming out that I said the market's going to generate news? You guys remember that?
Yep.
And, out of all the news, I don't know who would have taken a bet that Trump and Elon Musk are going to have a feud and cause, the lovey-dovey story to be ending. Could it be that it's staged? Who knows, right? All I'm saying is that news will always be generated around key levels, and today was no different. People will say, oh yeah, you got lucky because of Elon and Trump. Sure. That's how it works. But something else happened today in the profile. Do you guys know what happened? And then I mentioned, right, that, before actually, this morning before open, I said, if it comes back to 88, it might not be a bad short if we lose it. Do you guys recall that? That was ETH, but then RTH, was there any signs for you guys anywhere to short it? Here, I'm just giving you guys a quick guide on how you're able to spot that.
I don't know. I'm stumped. Tell
when you got to the top.
What about the top?
Angel.
The value got really tight once you got to the top. So
okay. Yeah, the value was tight. Okay.
You had a crowded high. It was a poor high.
So a day prior, right, is here. We definitely had what? We had a poor high, which, if you look, you also had a poor low here, which were cleaned up, right? They cleaned that up initially here, right? In the morning, they cleaned that one up. They came to these single prints that, I had a marked on the chart, I believe, on my other screen. But take a look here, right? You came to that, which happened to be your IBH, right? and you came to this level, and this was where I said, yeah, this is not a bad spot to close the shorts, if you guys remember, right? And then, we started ripping higher. We made higher highs, right? We challenged this poor high. We cleaned that up, and then something happened here at the top. And that's what I'm asking you guys. Yes, it's a crowded high, but what does this mean, right? This is not last period. This is during the day. I think it was the Europe, right? It was Europe. Let's take a look at it here, zoomed in.
The buyers get exhausted.
Buyer's exhaustion. This is a really, really clear sign of buyer's exhaustion, right? So you had buyer's exhaustion here on Wednesday, then Thursday comes in, you clean the poor lows, and then you clean the poor highs. But then again, nobody wanted to bid a penny a quarter higher on ES, right? And then once you lost, I would say, let's say you lost this value area high of 97 prior day value, what is that implying to you? What is the setup that you're looking for?
Peak above and fail.
Yeah, that's a peak above fail, and then you know at least what you can target. And what is that you guys could have targeted?
POC first and then the value area low.
Honestly, it was probably value area low immediately, and why is that?
It's such a thin, small value profile.
Yeah,
yesterday.
this indicated what in terms of value yesterday. And remember, I mentioned this that it was a compressed P profile, and then I gave that funny statement about the ducks. And I said there's probably going to be some trapped buyers tomorrow, and I would not want to be a bear if we lose the value area low. Do you guys remember that? It was in the chat. I posted it. If you don't, I'll tag you in it. But do you understand why? Does everybody understand why?
I didn't quite get it, Shorty.
Say it again.
I didn't get it.
Okay. So if this value area is really tight, what are the odds we're going to explore the whole value or the whole range of the day? I mean, the whole range of the day was 24 points. So if you can't hold a PDH and you lose the value and you have a poor low, most likely you're going to clean that poor low, and that's what happened. The 60 level is fairly important because remember we talked about this briefly. We said it was a double distro because you had 3 TPOs here and we had like 7, 8 on the POC side here. So if you bounce here initially and then you lose this, I said you have to be a little bit, worried that most likely you're going to go towards the 15 level, right? And then you're talking about, opposite side reversal as well. So if they can't defend this, you're looking at this part, then you have the liquidity, and then you have some VPOCs, sitting on a daily all the way up here. Does that ring a bell to anyone?
This is a value area of how many days?
This is like May 12th. So close to a month.
Okay.
So you can see it's kind of similar what happened here, right? If you guys just look a little bit to the left, let me see if I don't extend this. So if you guys look right here, is there any similarities here? I would say so, right? You had kind of like a double distro with the split here. Here you had a nice, I would say, short cover rally from the bottom with a lot of single prints, and they're able to hold, and it's kind of similar here, right? So this was an outside day. Here, the third day is the outside day. Here you had the compressed B. This is where they trapped them last time. This is where they trapped them this time. And now, my goal was that they lose this value area low of this day so we can target lower targets. Okay. So tomorrow, what are you guys looking for?
Shorts?
Well, tell me based on what? So here's your, I would say here's your weekly profile here. Let's just go in 2 hours.
See if we can hold under the 59.35, the previous week low. And also, like you said, the POC of the 4-week bracket now, down to the 59.14.
Yep. So the POC is sitting right here, and you can just literally mark this in a few minutes and know, what you're playing. So this is my SIG 1, right? We can mark that one. Okay, and now, we no longer need this. You can definitely find these, the 95s here, which is your second standard deviation. And you can see the top. I mean, this was pretty clear, and I think we talked about this enough in the Discord, right? About why it was tight and what it meant, right? I think we beat it to death. So let's see now. So if you can hold this, let's say 5883 tonight, tomorrow, there's a very high chance, at least the double, value area low that we had in between acted as support last time here. They're most likely going to visit this, and ultimately would be the 58808, like this area here that we're going to revisit, because it's still a bracket. Unfortunately, people just take position at the wrong location. You didn't want to go long here. People want to go long here. And in the bracket market, that's a really big no, right? You do not want to be an initiative buyer and do the price discovery by yourself here. And some people they learn the hard way. Some people just patiently wait for a trigger to go short or long at certain levels. So if you look, let's say between the 2 weeks, is there anything that you guys would want to like crack below a level to trigger the sell-off to the POC? What would that be? Value area high? Which value area high?
Last week, 59.35.
So if you think about this, right, this level here, 36.25, we dipped inside of it twice, right? I don't know if you guys are used to these candles. We went inside of it here twice, and we basically rejected it both times, and we were kind of holding the developing value area low. Above that, what I would say is that you have a couple of these right here. If you're to look at this, what does this mean now? If you can crack this level, what do you think happens tomorrow?
You'll revisit the value area high?
There's a very high chance you're going to at least visit this POC sitting around 82, which was also the level today that I mentioned. I'm taking a short and adding SPY puts there. Does anyone remember that?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So I said, as soon as we come up to 82, I'm looking to take that short, and I added SPY puts there, and I posted it right when I got it. So now you can see why that zone is important. If they're able to hold it, anytime we went above it, we quickly came back. You went above it, and then you bounced off of it, which is telling me that you want to try to defend it. So now you're revisiting from the bottom in this area here. And if you can't crack this area, you're not going here. You peak above here and lose this, then most likely you're going to be testing this 36. But if you crack inside of 36, very high chance that you're going to go to this, I think it was 16 or something like that, 15. So 15 to 10 zone becomes, I would say, pretty high probability that you're going to be trading here really, really, really fast. So something like this. So you peak above, depends where we open, and lose that, very high chance you visit 36 quarter and then 10. But what's in play if you lose 36? What do you do with your runners? Remember, the runners at least make the most money, right? That becomes a little bit less risky because you have a little bit of points. You took some profits.
Also, last week was again thin value area, so probably can do 80%.
Oh, it can be an 80% with basically a single candle, guys. You're talking about 36 to 94. That's what, 42 and a half, 42 and a quarter points wise, right? Between this right here and
Come brush your teeth.
so 42 points, that's a piece of cake, right? All it needs is some kind of news or no news, right? That's going to be a play that you're looking for. As you arrive at this level of 94 and 83, would you add to your shorts here? Would this be ideal spot? You miss this spot, you miss this spot. Do you want to go short here?
No,
Why not?
it's against the bottom. You don't want to short the bottom.
Well, that exactly. So, right, and hopefully you guys are following, right? Especially if you're new, because sometimes people learn differently in our size and whatnot. But this is not a spot to go short. As first sig to second sig, this is not an opportunity for you to go short. Make sure this is not safe. Does that make sense to everyone on the call? Is there anyone that's not following?
Hey, I have a question about the SIGs.
Yeah, sure.
What is the benefit of taking weekly SIGs versus daily or monthly?
Well, I'm taking larger ones because we're in a large bracket, right?
Gotcha.
If we are in a 2-day bracket, like, you know, we are in here, right? Certainly, right? I actually had them drawn today. If you go here and draw this and just change this to about 68, you'll see now something very interesting. And I posted a chart today when we did this. Take a look. There, I'll just highlight some of it, right? Peak above, go to POC, go on the bottom, went below, came back, went above, went above, went above. So they're happy trading here at one point, right? And then I think this was some kind of news in the morning, some, I don't know, binary event happened. They went down, and then this is where I was like, man, I really want to short this. If you guys remember, and I believe one of you took a trade at 204 or something like that. And you shorted all the way, right? But the idea was if you're no longer agreeing on this, whatever side wins is most likely where we're gonna go. So if you look here, we tried twice to find buyers. We failed, right? And plus, you know, these signs here. Then you went below and you failed. You went below, you failed. And this candle was pretty wild, right? I would say this was a wild, especially in 30 minutes. It looked like a major reversal, right? And a lot of you guys pointed it out, like, man, that 30-minute looks pretty bullish. But then it really trapped, like, I don't know if you guys can notice it, but here, watch this. Look how many people got destroyed right here. Just pay attention to the high of this candle, and look at this. They went above it, and look what they did after that. They actually closed lower, right? Does that make sense? This was a perfect trap here, especially with this candle here. And was there any signs that it was, you know, a faulty candle?
Hey, Shorty, I have a question.
Was there signs before you asked me a
The low
question?
volume.
Yeah, that was that's kind of like what my question was about, because like observing the TPOs, I actually took that that short to the what ended up being the low of day. And the reason I took it was because on TPOs I was interpreting the price action as the sellers actually being more aggressive, because the period highs were reflecting them dropping their ask. And that level at the time was actually the 4-week 1 sig as well. So I think to me, like, that was the sign, but I just wanted to make sure that I was interpreting that correctly as well. I wish I was in front of footprints. I would have seen that too.
Yep. So this is when I remember I posted this chart in a Discord, right, in a chat, and I said, hey, this is where I'm adding SPY puts, right? And I added July 18 puts here. But take a look at the aggression, but then, you know, more so pay attention to what's happening. This is 12:30, right? Do we typically get this much volume at 12:30?
No.
No, we don't get that much volume, right? So now if you look all the way from 9:30, this was equivalent to your first morning session, right? Trading in terms of volume. A little bit off, but look at the aggression on this candle though. Like, I mean, you're talking about delta positive 62 to negative. CBD went, 1,500. They took off quite a bit here. And of course, they tried to retrace. And then, you know, if you look at this. So if you look at this, right, if this is our value on this candle right here, just pay attention where I'm going to hopefully highlight. This is the value of this candle right here. Above, we didn't find any acceptance. We were running away from it. And these aggressive sellers that you see double stack is where they initiated that selling, right? And basically that came in, I would say, away from this balance right here. So if they initiated, look how well they protected it, right? They came in and they found no interest to go higher. And then look, boom, sell. And now we're back, you know, to the crime scene again here. So now tonight, let's say you lose this 49.25, where you had some decent buyers show up after hours and they're about to test it anyways. They will come right here to test it. And if they fail that tonight, most likely we're going to open lower, right? So just watch what happens as we arrive to this level. But that's a really good observation that you had. And footprints really helped today. I mean, especially with the aggression and understanding where they are. So hopefully that makes sense to all of you. Does that help?
Yeah,
Does what
definitely.
I'm explaining make sense to all? Is anyone like, what in the world are you talking about?
Yep, thank you.
Okay. So what is the key level for tomorrow?
That green zone, the value split, which is like single prints from a couple days ago.
Yeah, thank you for connecting. Yeah, I don't even have them on, but remember that's our TPOs, right? If you go on the TPOs, that's going to be the single prints that we had. Oh, let's see. So this was last week. Well, maybe I had it actually on this chart. But yes, that's exactly what it was. So let me show you here. So this was your single prints from last week here. That was kind of splitting that. Let me just hide a bunch of this drawing. So what we were talking about is if you look at this, day here, and I hide the candle so you guys can see it, you'll see that there are some single prints here, right? And that was also the IBH of that. So somewhere around here, 960, right, all the way to, trying to tag it right, 59.75, and then I would say if you can reclaim the 68, you got a winner, and most likely we can rip higher. But right now, we're basically saying, hey, we're not interested in this top distribution. For now, we would like to stay below it. Unless that changes, then you're staying bearish. We reclaim this. You have no reason to be bearish. You're looking for a drive to 82, and at that point, you're looking to close your trade. People, please don't stop believing that you can go along here and target here, and your stop loss is this much, right? That's not a probable trade for your risk. If you're going to target 60, 66, well, then you might have to give something like this and you just walk away and let it play. But I don't think you have the setup necessarily right now to target something like that. Unless we reclaim the 60, then of course, we have an opportunity to go higher, and I would target 60, 66. That's exactly what I would target. So good. What else? On the weekly value area low being at 51.25, that's being developed. Fairly important, right? So I would make sure that you guys are understanding where we are tomorrow when we open, because it is the last day, I would say, of the week, right? So there's going to be some shenanigans with that price action, right? So right now, if they can't reclaim this, that's not good. And you see that they have they're trying to do a short cover rally, and it could be that there was some late shorts that came in towards the end of the day that added. And if that's the case, I wouldn't be surprised in the morning that you see what? If there was late shorts, what do you think they would do to those late shorts first?
Punish them.
Also tomorrow we have NFP.
I don't even know if anything matters anymore. I mean, all these binary events and macro news did minimal damage, but Trump and Elon get in a fight and market drops and Elon loses Tesla loses $150 billion in market value. I don't know. I'm not trying to rationalize it like, news or no news, but this is just pretty wild that market is behaving. So tomorrow, I think we have NFP, used car prices, so not much. I think NFP is the big one there.
How
But
about
yeah.
employment?
Say it again.
The unemployment numbers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how that goes, right? If it stays in 4.2, I expect unemployment actually to skyrocket within a couple of months. And I'm talking about from 4.2 to about 19.20, like 5 times. So, I feel bad for the people that do have a W-2 job, but it's going to get worse before it gets better, as our administration and policies They need to cut the rates because right now 20% of your taxes are going towards interest payments on $36 trillion debt. And one way to kill the deficit in trades is to kill the dollar, right? So if you kill the dollar, that's going to help. But then what are you doing to inflation for us? If your purchasing power of the dollar goes down, what does that mean?
Means we save more dollars, right? Instead of putting them in the market, instead of putting them in the economy.
You need to cut employment.
Well, what about you as a person? If I tell you your dollar was worth,
We're screwed.
It's buying power.
You pay more. You have to pay more for
your
everything.
buying power becomes, destroyed. Right. So, and you can see, right, in 2008, do you think this was a coincidence that the
interest rate
recession?
goes down, adding $4 trillion
Oh, it would be
additional debt
devastating.
is not going to change
No,
the picture, right?
It would be devastating for a lot of families and people if they're to do that. It might feel good at first, right? Because you're going to get a bigger check, but I would say we're in consumerism economy right now, and the people just operate. Do I have a better car? Or do I have better shoes? Right. So even if you give them $5,000 check tomorrow, the $5,000 check is going to be spent on shit that's not needed. Right. I would say it's wants, not the needs. Right. Elastic versus inelastic. So there's going to be some behavioral changes from buyers coming soon. I guarantee you. And it's going to be a hard reality for many. So,
Very quick question before you wrap up. Can you go through Tesla?
Yeah.
Today was a very interesting day.
Well, loved it. Today I actually made quite a bit of money on Tesla. If you guys remember a few days back when we reviewed Tesla, and I said, man, Tesla just looks like it just wants to drop. I don't know if you guys recall, we talked about, some of the levels here. We also talked about the next levels, 255, if you guys recall. And then ultimately we said that we would want to go somewhere around this area. So this is what I'm looking for, right? So I was actually in 245 puts, 345 puts, I apologize, somewhere up here. And then, today they just accelerated.
Yeah, but what stood out specifically for you? So
when we were looking to short it?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that one's easy. That one's easy. Focus here and look at it this way. This is your monthlies, right? So take a look at it. But 1 week. So take a look here, and I can give you monthlies. It'll be actually even worse. Anything that stands out, let me give you 7 days so you can see. Let me give you an idea. Okay, so this was a major level, right? At one point, this was a level that they needed to get above. They failed last time. So if you think about the penthouse that we had on ES, this is your penthouse of Tesla, right? If you're able to get inside here, I would say very high odds that we're going to crack a new all-time high, right? Fair. Then you take a look at this, right? This is the profile that they kind of sold off from, and then they consolidated before this massive sell-off. So that means somewhere from here, right? I would say to here, they got to hold on to it. And take a look what happened here. Tiny peak, but there's the problem. This is the problem. Do you see it?
It failed.
Yeah, it failed. Clearly failed, and this is what it was telling me. Remember how I said to yesterday, right, and the day before in that compressed peak, do not lose that value area low. Take a look now. What happened here? This is the value area low of that peak, and I would say this is fairly compressed. It's not extended like whatever shape this is. Now take a look. They tried to get back in, and look at this. When I saw that, I was like, oh. If you can't make it there, well, then I can at least target that you're going to go and explore this value area low at 337, hence why I stayed in 40s and everything else. I trimmed some, right? And then I'm like, okay, well, let me keep some as runners. And then, this was just, a pretty simple, right, target. if you take a look at this, you did not like the value here. You did not like trading in here anyways, right? We didn't spend a lot of time, ton of gaps, so there's not going to be much protection in this area. If you can't hold it, you're going to slice. And they basically went all the way down. You know, do I expect a small bounce tomorrow? Yeah, out of this balance, most likely, right? And I would say there's going to be something that comes up here, and you see that they close right above this POC. And that 273 level actually had a mark because it was a POC all the way from here, somewhere like this, out there. So it was this area that, you know, and now let's say if they can't reclaim this purple line tomorrow at 292, which also happens to be a small LVN on price action. Look at this. What do you target then?
225.
You're targeting potentially, you know, they're going to go at 275, and then, you know, further out, you're targeting 225. And this would be a perfect spot for me, again, shares to add some here. That'll be the ideal play, especially, you know, with the pump that they're trying to do with Tesla, with robots and blah, blah, blah.
It's most than likely going to stay above 200, not going back to like 156, what we had last year.
Well, last time we got 156. I don't know if you grabbed any shares, but we were able to grab some, right? Somewhere around here. We were able to get that, right? I think there's a very high chance that we're going to stay. So if you just go here and zoom out completely. So take a look where we are. You see it? Yeah, let me give you a better picture.
Yeah, we are not going there.
So if you take a look here, right, this was our, I think it was like 5 years, October 20th. If we fail tomorrow here, Tesla's going to be in a downfall, like a free fall, pretty much, right? Because that means you're not looking for prices higher, right? The key is that they hold tomorrow. This was in our class, right? If you guys remember, does it ring a bell?
And after hours, it went up a little bit. So yeah, you're in the right.
Yeah. So if you look, right, we are in balance like we were. We crack. Now the job is, can they accept it? Meaning, if they hold it, this becomes our play to go long, actually, right? And if they fail tomorrow, I don't know, right here, then, you know, we can target that 244, and I would expect this, a 5-year POC, to offer some serious buying from here. And that's why I said, you know, that level I think I mentioned was 245 to 260s for long. And, you know, you could manage the stop here, you know, probably some $30 or so. Unfortunately, you have to give higher on Tesla because of the ATR. But if they lose this, then you know 167 is most likely cut. So that's how I would see Tesla playing out. I still have some puts on it, but I'm probably going to look to close.
So below 220, Tesla is going to below 200.
Yeah, easy. Yeah, below 220, it's 167 to 170. Easy.
Thank you.
Shorty, can you also show your reasoning on Nvidia?
Yeah. The video was similar, right? So let me go here. Okay, there it goes. So this was Nvidia today, and then if you guys look at the daily, I mentioned that it was a really tight value area. I don't know if you guys remember, I posted it. So let me start with the daily, and then we'll look at this. Let me go on 30 minutes so you guys can see it. All right, so if you look, same concept, right? I mean, they're in value here. They popped above, they brought it back in. I think this was, one of them was on earnings. I don't know if this was the day of earnings. I know they went high, and then I think this was the earnings. And you see them buying, all volume picked up here, and then take a look here. If this was the earnings high, 143, what do you think happened here today?
Rejected.
Well, it trapped a lot of buyers right here, right? All the buyers that were looking off the earnings, oh my God, we're going to go to the moon, right? They trapped them. And what kind of candle would you guys call this right here? Take a look at, 10 minutes. Does anyone know what this is potentially called? Not clear, but it looks like one.
Maybe a tweezer top.
Maybe a tweezer top. If there was a little gap between these two, it'd be a banded baby, right? So the trio of these candles I actually usually pay attention to. Like if something like this happens, you take the low, once this breaks, take the candle, put the stop loss above. Not a bad play. And I even mentioned right here that there's a high chance that they're going to bounce here, right, and go higher, just because if you look at the value here, how much participation did they have here? I mean, the value is $1 on a stock that's pretty volatile typically, right? So in terms of comparison, it's telling me, you're coming here and the short-term players are looking to play. Eventually, they're going to get cracked, and then ultimately, they got back inside and now we're below it. So tomorrow, I would say there's very high chance you're going to be at 137. You're going to go to about 134, and then you take a look at the weekly just to kind of make sure that you're not missing anything, and take a look where we are most likely headed, and just pay attention to where we are bouncing right now. So if you lose the 138 tomorrow, and if you can't, you see this little zone right here? If you can't hold the zone, what do you guys think? Where do we go?
A POC and then a value area low.
Yeah, most likely you're going to visit this zone right here, about 135, and then ultimately you're going to go here somewhere 130s, and then there's a VPOC somewhere around 115 or something right on, like right here. That would be the final target, 113. And there's not a lot of support here, guys. I mean, if you guys turn on your VRVP, take a look. There's really no interest here. So if you lose this level, eventually you're just going to slice it to 113. So my play was cheap, right, that I was looking for. So even if we go to 135, we have enough time. They'll probably go 100 to 200%. You could trim some here, and then you see here there's something really interesting. You're in balance right here. Just pay attention, right? So you're in balance here, and then they had the weekly on the middle, or whenever it happened, right? They pumped above it, but then we closed inside of the balance. So what does that tell you about the breakout? If you break above it and then you close inside of it, what does it tell you?
80% chance it goes to the bottom.
Well, it tells you this was a trap altogether, and you're right that there's a high chance that you're ultimately going to go back down, and visit the low area here. And another way you could play this, right, is if you take this 3-day here and don't extend it, right? Don't extend this, and now you know what they most likely can and will do, right? So I would say 131 is highly possible here. That would be the level you're targeting, 131 to 130, and then ultimately you lose that, and then it's really a free fall. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we don't expect it to go below 100, are we?
Last time I think we had it, where was it? We had it buying on it at 90 or something like that. 90 at 33 was the level we wanted.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to go there. I think 114 is our level for opportunity to go long. I'll probably snatch a few shares there. Close the puts, grab shares, help the market. So yeah, I'll probably do that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, and then I don't know if you guys watched, you had KHC today. It's doing nothing still. We had some pumps here. The value area is stacking higher, which is a good sign, right? The value area high staying at the top. Today they dipped below, and they were pretty quick to react. They got bought up, and you can see some volume coming in on 30 minutes here on some of these. So we're still okay on this one. Keep an eye on it, but I think this is okay for at least 20% up soon.
Okay, state is not going to drop further, even though it's a 52-week low. They're not doing very well.
I don't think it will drop for more than it is right now.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not saying that it can't, but I doubt it. I mean, it's been, it's been beaten down, and it's coming to a point where it's, you're expecting a lot of demand out of this bracket. So if they give us something like, a sweep here and this, then this becomes even easier, right? To go along and reload. We'll see tomorrow. If they can reclaim this, let's say 27.77, then it would be a pretty easy play to drive this. You would have 25 and then ultimately maybe 46% return. So that's something we'll keep an eye on. I think AMD also went a little bit down today. So this is what we were looking for. So ultimately, I think we can go probably again 85 is probably looking doable on it. So I'll keep an eye on that. PEP, I didn't see any movement today. That if you guys look here, it was just kind of like nowhere. And we're looking for 107 on this one, keep in mind. And I will go, I'll buy some shares here because look at this. It's just up. So I'll be looking for shares at 107 and see what they do. So if they can offer somewhere here, that'd be great. And then if they decide to take a reversal, then they offer 64. This is a no-brainer. 64 would be a dream. Just know that.
What are the chances of that?
Pretty high. I would say they're high, right? I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen. We've had stocks that have done that. When we talk about Amazon, if you remember back when it was on the monthly chart, we talked about this right here. Seems like it was ages ago, but it's only a few months back. We talked about this. They sold off. If you remember, they went to 80s and they reclaimed this. Nobody thought, that there's a high chance it was going to go here. But take a look now. Here, I'll just grab it from the lows to the highs of that time. Now look where they came. Right? So they came and they were pretty clear what they were telling you here at this time, right? It's the same concept that we just talked about. If you defend this, most likely you're going to put a new higher high. And in this case, the higher high was the all-time high. So now if they lose this one, whatever this 188 level is, they're in trouble. Like they're in trouble because most likely they're going to seek the bottom of it, right? 140s. And if you're not able to hold that, then I would ideally, right, you can grab something like this and see where is it going first. So 130 and 96 to 89 would be, again, pretty good long on Amazon. So it can happen, right? They'll drop it quite a bit. AMD had, if you remember, same setup here. So here's AMD, when it was at 170s, it dropped all the way to 53, and then it made higher highs. So it's doable, right? I don't think we're out of trouble as an economy yet, right? And all these tariff talks and all this, just a distraction. I don't think they're buying this stock as some might think. Right. If you take a look at the volume, it's not being bought here. And if you compare when it was being bought, right, take a look at this cycle here. Take a look at the volume here. There's a lot of buying, right? And then you see here, I don't think that's necessarily buying. There's a lot of selling happening here, right here. In this little square. Like right here, there's a lot of selling happening. And now you're back inside that, you peaked about, most likely you're going to be headed to 55, 60s eventually in AMD as well. But we're still in bracket in the market, and that's the key message for all of you, right? To understand that we're still in balance, right? So don't be married to one side, right? Because they can definitely just reverse and go back up, right? All right. Well, we'll see you guys tomorrow. I do have some family events going tomorrow and friends. If you guys celebrate Eid, happy Eid. I know some of you guys do. A couple of my friends are Muslims, so I'll be going visiting them and sharing some time with them. So If you guys have some friends, wish them the best. And if you do celebrate it, well, happy Eid. And I will see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you, Shorty.
Bye.
Eid Mubarak, everybody.
All right.
Thank you, Shorty.
Thank you.